begin with the headlines. Chief Justice of Rwanda has declared that Rwanda will not allow corruption to disrupt the justice delivery that Rwandans deserve. Rwandan and Congolese traders crossing the Rubavu-Goma border via the Petite Barrière report a significant increase in cross-border movement since the AFC M23 took control of Goma. On the international scene, a plan that US President Donald Trump suggested last week on the ground in the Middle East, the Israeli-Hamas truce resulted in another successful hostage for prisoners exchange. My name is Olive Nete. I hope you had a great start of the week. Let's kick off the edition. Today, President Paul Kagame chaired a cabinet meeting at Urugwiro village, and the meeting discussed the 5-year second national strategy for transformation, NST2 progress, and overall economic development. Resolutions drawn will be followed up through RBA platforms. Tomorrow news, the Chief Justice Domitila Mukanaganzwa has declared that Rwanda will not allow corruption disrupt the justice delivery that Rwandans deserve. Adam Squizera has more on this.
As the Anti-Corruption Week in the justice sector was launched, various institutions shared their efforts in combating corruption. The Supreme Court reported that between 2020 and 2024, the High Council of Judiciary sanctioned 14 judges, court clerks, and other court staff. Currently, 3 more individuals, including 2 court clerks and 1 judge, have been arrested. The Secretary General of the Rwanda Investigation Bureau, retired Colonel Jano Ruhunga, stated that the agency has also taken actions against its own employees suspected of corruption related to the service they provide, emphasizing their commitment to accountability and integrity.
In
the last 5 years, we have dismissed 55 employees suspected of committing this crime. During the same period, we investigated 4,437 corruption-related cases involving 9,272 suspects, which clearly indicates that corruption is not an individual act. In the Rwanda Bar Association, 9 employees were prosecuted last year, leading to their permanent dismissal. Moise Mundabarashi, the president of Rwanda Bar Association, emphasized that corruption within the judicial sector could severely damage the country's reputation.
Mu cyumweru gishize hari dosiye twatangiye gukurikirana dufatanyije n'ubugenzuzi bw'inkiko.
Last week, we started following up on a case where a lawyer contacted a judge requesting a favorable ruling because one of the parties involved was their relative. You also saw that last week, a judge in Nyagatare was arrested. This highlights the urgent need for strict measures because if corruption infiltrates the judiciary, our profession will lose all respect. In the National Public Prosecution Authority, 6 prosecutors were arrested and prosecuted for corruption last year. Prosecutor General Angelique Habyarimana stated that the institution continues to face challenges due to lack of people providing information related to corruption.
The
main issue are people who fail to provide information. I urge everyone as Rwandans to take responsibility by reporting any potential corruption case so that fair justice can prevail. No one is above the law.
Chief Justice Domitila Mukanaganzwa emphasized that Rwanda will not tolerate corruption or any other issues that undermine justice sector.
Icy'ingenzi dukwiye guhurizaho nuko yaba umwavoka
The key point we're focusing on is that no one, whether a lawyer, judge, policeman, investigator or prosecutor, will be exempt from accountability when it comes to corruption. We cannot fight corruption in other sectors and fail to address it within our own. Corruption is dynamic. As we implement measures to combat it, those who engage in corrupt activities adapt their strategies. What we primarily need is collaboration across all sectors and a firm stance against tolerating corruption in any form.
The Anti-Corruption Week in the judiciary sector includes discussion in media, schools and correctional centers, as well as engagements with judges and court clerks. Additionally, there will be hearings on corruption-related cases. Adam Squizera, RwandaTV News.
Thank you, Adams, for a detailed report. Now moving ahead, Rwandan and Congolese traders crossing the Rubavu-Goma border via the Petite Barrière report a significant increase in cross-border movements since the AFCM23 rebels took control of Goma. They attribute this surge to improved facilitation of trade and travel, extended border operating hours, and enhanced security, which has alleviated fears of violence. And Nora Gladys takes us through.
From morning to evening, the Petite Barrière border serves as a hub for small-scale cross-border trade between Rwanda and Congolese. At the immigration office, large crowds gather, with many seeking entry into Goma. Meanwhile, significant volumes of goods, particularly livestock products, beverages, and construction materials, are transported across the border. Traders familiar with cross-border commerce at this location attribute the increased activity to enhanced security and the extension of border operating hours, which have facilitated smoother trade and movement.
You leave home, engage in business activities, and return home peacefully. Previously, the Congolese government had set the border opening hours from 6 a.m. to 3 p.m., but now the borders are open from 6 a.m. and close at 6 p.m. The crossing permit has been removed. Now we simply use the CPGL to cross freely, take our goods, and conduct business without any hindrances. Now you simply cross, declare your goods, and pay the required taxes, and proceed without any issues. Previously, the process was difficult. You could lose your purchases or be forced to pay extra fees to cross. However, there are no longer any such hindrances.
The improved movement of people and goods across the border is welcomed not only by Rwandans but also by Congolese traders. They commend the streamlined processes for taxes and travel document acquisition, noting that these changes have significantly eased cross-border trade and travel. Getting the CPGL was really difficult, but now we only need a border crossing card. Previously, we had to pay $15 to obtain the CPGL, but now we can simply cross with the card, move around Gisenyi freely, and return without any hassle. Business operations here are smooth and secure. If you earn $100K from your business, you can safely store it without fear of being robbed. There is no concern about being imprisoned for keeping your business open from 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Now we are really thriving. Since AFCM23 took control of Goma and established its administration over North Kivu province, trade between Rubavu and Goma has significantly improved. According to Rubavu district authorities, the number of people crossing the border has doubled within 2 weeks of AFCM23's takeover. Mayor Mulindwa Prosper attributes this surge to enhanced trade facilitation and improved security in the region.
Aho ubu imibare iri gutangira kurenga 30,000 ku munsi.
Currently, we are recording nearly 30,000 daily border crossings, including both those entering Rubavu and those leaving. Before M23 took control of Goma, the numbers had significantly declined to between 12,000 and 15,000, sometimes even lower depending on the situation in Goma. However, now residents from both sides are crossing hindrance. The district administration states that if the current trend in border crossing continues, traffic will return to pre-COVID-19 levels when at least 55,000 to 6,000 people crossed the border daily. Enora Gladys, RwandaTV News. Thank you, Enora. Now moving ahead, economic experts affirm that Rwanda needs to increase its tax sources to contribute to the development of the country and thus help it achieve its goals by 2029 and Rwanda's desired vision in 2035 and 2050. Prince Manzi has more on this.
Various reports on Rwanda indicated in the pursuit of self-reliance, the proportion of foreign aid relative to the country's GDP has decreased from 9% over the past 10 years to the current 3%. Dieudonne Nzafashwanayo, an economic expert, affirms that there is a need to expand tax sources while also assessing whether tax exemptions granted to certain sectors should still be maintained.
All over the world, everyone is talking about domestic revenue mobilization, right? So which means that, economies, countries see the importance, on focusing on domestic revenue mobilization as far as funding, their expenses is concerned. So now, with all those strategies or maybe approaches we've talked about, so if the government of Rwanda was to look into that, I can definitely see there being like a significant increase, of the tax to GDP ratio, in Rwanda. I mean, be it in terms of improving tax administration and also looking at how the tax base can be expanded.
Rwandan and foreign investors affirm that as the country continues to develop, the taxes they pay will inevitably increase, contributing to the construction of the country everyone envisions. They particularly highlight major infrastructure projects that will play a key role in boosting the economy.
Now added with the new airport, which I see, it is going really transform completely Rwanda in general. Because I can compare my overseas journeys around the world, multi-countries, including that of India. I see how airports are like driving force for swift transformation of the economy. So in my opinion, I see that coming up with this new airport will really transform us, and also not only the transform economically, but also will bring a matter of pride for the region, not only for Rwanda. And Rwanda I see is known for being leader in many, the first step taker in many cases. So I think this is a good step. Will be the leader in that industry or that sector, aviation, having that international hub here connected to the rest of the world with that setup.
What we have achieved ensures that in 2050 will be even better, with the country having modern industrialization and providing employment, as well as the new technology. The tax to GDP ratio currently stands at 14.5%, while the target is to reach between 18% and 19% by 2029. Aimable Kimenyi of the Private Sector Federation reiterates that the government and business community should frequently meet to make tax-related decisions that are fair and not burdensome to any party, ensuring the country's best interests.
N'umucuruzi nawe yarakwiye kwicara ahantu hari ibikorwa remezo bakeneye miliyari 3 zo kubaka gari ya moshi.
Even the entrepreneurs should sit where they need like 3 billion for constructing a railway and thinks of where to look for it. It is in their advantage. For instance, there's also the investment in entertainment and sports, and we wonder how there's no events weekly. This means that if the government and private sector are not together, it can affect everything, including the purchasing power. Sitting together is how other countries also developed. To achieve the Vision 2035 and 2050 goals, economic analysts suggest that Rwanda must increase its tax to GDP ratio to 31.5% by 2035 and 40% by 2050. Currently, the average Rwandan earns approximately $1,000 per year. The target is to increase this income to $4,000 by 2035 and $12,000 by 2050. Prince Manzi, RwandaTV News.
Thank you, Prince, for a detailed report. Now, moving ahead with this communique from the Office of the Prime Minister. On Monday, February 10th, 2025, His Excellency Paul Kagame, the President of the Republic of Rwanda, chaired a cabinet meeting at Urugwiro village. The cabinet was briefed about the recent fighting in Goma, DRC, and conveyed condolences to the families of the 16 Rwandan civilian in Rubavu district killed by cross-border shelling. Cabinet was also briefed on the facilitation provided by the government to various groups of people, including UN permanent personnel, who evacuated from Goma and were granted safe passage through Rwanda. Cabinet took note of the joint EAC SADC summit of February 8th, 2025, which reset the path for a political solution to the conflict in the eastern DRC. The cabinet was briefed on progress and performance of the agriculture season 2025A, and this season experienced good harvest thanks to active participation of farmers and government interventions aimed at increasing crop productivity planting climate-resilient crops and better post-harvest management practices. Farmers are encouraged to continually ensure optimal quality and maximize production for season 2025B. The Cabinet approved legal instruments implementing medium-term domestic resource mobilization measure, including taxes and levies to strengthen financing for the National Strategy for Transformation, NST2. The Cabinet also approved the following policies: the energy policy and the national urbanization policy. Done Kigali, February 10th, 2025, signed by the Prime Minister, Dr. Edouard Ngirente. Moving ahead, 85 young men and women have completed vocational and technical training through a program called Igire, a collaboration between BPR Bank and the Ministry of Youth and Arts Development. Among them, those who started entrepreneurial ventures were awarded prizes for their self-initiated projects. These 85 individuals were part of a group of 100 who spent 6 months studying at 5 colleges that make up the National Institute of Technical and Vocational Education, Rwanda Polytechnics, with support from the BPR Foundation in partnership with the Ministry of Youth and Arts Development. The CEO of BPR Bank, Patience Mutesi, highlights that their key achievements is that nearly 1,000 youth have benefited from this program and are making progress.
Of the almost 1,000 graduates that we have sponsored through these trainings, it's not all of them that have graduated. But under the education pillar, we've had the second pillar, which is enterprise development. We've had almost 300 businesses that have been set up by these businesses. So to your question around whether we have any support that we provide, we've grouped these people into an alumni forum where they get together and learn from each other, from the businesses that they have set up, what are the things that they're learning and how can they improve their businesses. So within our headquarters, we have a company called Sepeti. They went through our EGA program and now they are a supplier of a bank. They've been able to create jobs under that program, and we've seen them growing. Their revenue has grown almost tenfold since they set up, and it's really a moment of pride for us every time we have a graduation to sit back and think about the impact that we are creating as a bank. We are a profit-making organization, but then we do good. We want to do good, and where we want to do good is to improve the skills of the young people. We want to create jobs, but through enterprise development. The government of Rwanda has an ambition to set up 1.5 million jobs under the NST2, and we believe that even as a private entity, there's a contribution that we can make not only by lending to businesses which then grow, but also through our foundation where we train young people, we help them set up businesses, we support them on that journey, and they build a pipeline for the bank in terms of investing. So we still lend to them when they're able to establish themselves and provide that evidence that they are bankable businesses. So it's a really impactful business and that we are proud to be a part of.
Now, during the ceremony celebrating the certificates awarded to these young people, 5 outstanding projects from all of the vocational colleges were recognized. These projects included carpentry, construction, cooking and repairing technological equipment. Each project received 3 million Rwandan francs to help implement what they had started. Moving ahead, a historical exhibition on the 1994 genocide against Tutsi in Rwanda has been launched in Musanze district, northern province. Authorities have specifically encouraged young people to participate in this 3-week exhibition, emphasizing its significance in providing essential information about the genocide. Held at the Genocide Memorial in Musanze, the exhibition offers detailed insights into the planning, execution, and aftermath of the genocide, as well as the steps Rwanda has taken after it was stopped. The first participants, including many young people, have expressed that the information they received serves as a strong foundation for understanding this critical part of history. The exhibition's content is based on research compiled from scholars on the genocide against the Tutsi from countries such as France, England, Belgium, and South Africa in collaboration with Rwandan researchers. Dr. Philbert Gakwenzire, president of the Ibuka umbrella organization, emphasized their goal of ensuring that this history research reaches as many people as possible. Supported by the French embassy in Rwanda, the initiative was highlighted by Aurélien Piquenot, head of the Cooperation and Culture at the French embassy, who noted the ongoing collaboration with Rwanda in preserving the history of the genocide. The research presented in the exhibition is available in Kinyarwanda, English, and French. The exhibition, which began in Paris in May of last year, has also been hosted at the Ibuka headquarters and at the University of Rwanda, Huye campus.
Alo, waramutse utashiri wanjye.
Utekereza ko guhora wivuganya n'umushu aribyo birenze? Natwe niko tubibona. Ubona nta cyakurutira kugaragaza impano yawe. Niko bimeze.
So guys, uyu munsi tugiye kuganira ku gaseke. Agaseke njye gafite byinshi. Kamari, ese wowe kakumariye iki? Manudi. Halo Manudi, niba icyo uri kunkura mu kazi? Rero mabusha, byahiye kandi noneho bimeze neza cyane. Ukuntu biri no guhumura. Ako Manudi, urumva nakumva ko ibyo bihumura koko?
Ubona nta cyakurutira umwuga wawe. Erega, natwe niko tubibona. Dushyigikiye buri kimwe agaciro mu buzima bwawe na irekure nshya. Buri wese arahishiwe, wikwisondeka. Kanda akanyenyeri 140 urwego, uhitemo agaseke kawe ka packs zo guhamagara. Cyangwa akanyenyeri 345 urwego, uhitemo bando za internet uryoherwe n'umuvuduko wa 4G.
Welcome back now to matters making headlines globally. A plan that US President Donald Trump suggested last week on the ground in the Middle East, the Israel-Hamas truce, resulted in another successful hostage for prisoners exchange. VOA with the details.
The Israel-Hamas ceasefire deal continues to hold. Israeli troops withdrew Sunday from the Netzarim corridor that divides the Gaza Strip, and entire Palestinian families made their way back home to northern Gaza. What lies ahead for Gaza's inhabitants after the war ends, however, remains an open question. U.S. President Donald Trump has floated the idea of Gaza's population resettling in other countries and the United States taking over the Gaza Strip to rebuild it. Trump's national security advisor Mike Waltz responded Sunday to critics of the plan.
You can't get to post-construction. You can't make this the Paris of the Mediterranean like Beirut was back in the 70s and give these people a better life if you've got 1.8 million people living in absolute squalor in mountains and mountains and mountains of debris. For anyone, the media included, that doesn't like what he is proposing, come to us with a better plan.
Trump's plan has received support inside Israel, but the Arab world and the Palestinian leadership categorically reject it.
We need to rebuild the Gaza Strip. The Gaza Strip is a very precious component of the land of the State of Palestine. It is part of our homeland, and we don't have a homeland other than the State of Palestine.
Meanwhile, Israelis celebrated the release of more hostages this weekend. 5 Thai workers who had been held by Hamas for more than a year reunited Sunday with their loved ones, and 183 Palestinian prisoners also reclaimed their freedom as part of the deal. Talks on the second phase of the Israel-Hamas ceasefire deal could resume in Qatar as soon as this week. Veronica Valderas Iglesias, VOA News.
So more news. An old planetarium in Johannesburg has been transformed into the state-of-art with Anglo-American digital dome after undergoing major renovations. The facility offers visitors an immersive look at the wonders of the universe. We once more.
Curious visitors and astronomy fans joined the official launch this month of the Wits Anglo-American Digital Dome of the University of the Witwatersrand, formerly known as the Wits Planetarium. Nestled in the heart of Johannesburg, this state-of-the-art dome offers a rare and immersive look at the universe.
This kind of a view, like the 360-degree image and the audio, gives you what is called an immersive environment, where you feel that you're part of the journey. Like whatever is happening in the dome, you're kind of in part of the journey. So if you're flying through the stars, you feel like you're actually flying through the stars.
The facility says it is the largest of its kind in the Southern Hemisphere. It offers not only a spectacular experience, but also a teaching venue and collaboration hub for scientists, artists, and students. Officials say here they can bring their work to life in dazzling, immersive detail. Cindy Pinar is an astronomy fan who visited with her 2 children.
When I was at school, I came here. So I said, one day when I have my own kids, I would love to bring them. So when we looked on Google, we realized it's still existing. So that's when we decided we're going to come, and lucky for us, we saw today they're opening.
The old-school analog Zeiss projector, once the heart of the planetarium, has been swapped out for a futuristic setup. 10 digital projectors now beam an ultra-crisp 8K resolution picture across the entire dome. On this day, the featured show is Cosmic Collisions. It is one of 6 productions donated by the American Museum of Natural History in New York. Each show costs about $1 million to produce, making them a valuable contribution to science education in Africa, according to the former National Research Foundation's Beverly Damone.
The fact that we are under license to them, but without the payment of a license fee for 2 years, means that really we have content, high quality content that we can share with our public audiences without incurring astronomical costs at this stage.
The films will be showcased until 2026, allowing visitors like Cindy Pinar and her family to experience world-class science education.
It was amazing. It was an awesome experience, especially for the kids.
And her son Christian was over the moon.
And you get to learn and experience a lot instead of just watching it from a phone on YouTube or whatever, instead of experiencing it in real life.
The Wits Anglo-American Digital Dome plans to create their own content after the donated films end their run. Siri Kassim, VOA News, Johannesburg, South Africa.
And the story brings us to the end of tonight's bulletin, but before we leave, a reminder of the top stories that made the edition. The Chief Justice of Rwanda has declared that Rwanda will not allow corruption to disrupt the justice delivery that Rwandans deserve. Rwandan and Congolese traders crossing the Rubavu-Goma border via the Petite Barrière report a significant increase in cross-border movement since the AFC M23 took control of Goma. On the international scene, about the plan that U.S. President Donald Trump suggested last week on the ground in the Middle East, the Israel-Hamas truce resulted in another successful hostage for prisoners exchange. And this marks the end of today's bulletin. Thank you for being with us. On behalf of the entire news team, we wish you a productive and fruitful week ahead. Stay safe and stay informed.